Hey there, I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge Podcast. Often random, but always relevant, always real, and practically nothing is off limits. This podcast is for you. Are you ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome back to the program, guys, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Wednesday Night Live with myself and my co-host, Mr. Jim Alabiso. Jim, I think we're going to have a very good conversation tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. When Kristin's involved, it's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, sorry, it's my fault we're late. Apologies.
And it's Kristin's fault we're late.
That's okay.
I wasn't going to say it, but
it's my fault. I'll take
that's
responsibility.
Okay. Technical issues.
Yeah. So Kristin, it's been a minute since I've seen you. How have you been?
Great. I am not bored.
I can only imagine, because I know that, and I was looking at some of the notes earlier that you've been around over there celebrating an anniversary of sorts, like 13 years, and it seems to me like just yesterday I saw you up at One Spark.
I know, it is crazy that was 13 years ago. It's gone by really fast.
Well, for those of us that are joining,
that was kind of a wild time during One Spark, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was so neat because Jacksonville was trying to do something new, right? And so all these people just converged to do this new thing, and even though we still don't have it. I mean, we don't have it anymore. It did so much for the city and the entrepreneurial spirit of the city.
Oh, it was so good. I remember calling up my friend Will. We heard about One Spark, and I kept hearing about it. And then it's like, we have a chance to win $25,000. And I was like, I want to win $25,000. And I called up my friend Will, and I was like, do you want to build a 30-foot tall house out of T-shirts? And he said, yes. Yes, I do. And that's how it started.
Well, that was the coolest thing. I can't remember what lot it was on.
It was right out in front of the library.
Right, and then it was kind of and it was almost like an experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a booth. It was a dang experience.
Yeah. We ended up building a 25-foot tall house out of 2,000 dyed T-shirts. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think was that really kind of the impetus that got things launched for you?
It did exactly what. Okay, this is the funny thing. It did exactly what they wanted it to. It just didn't do it who it was supposed to do it for. They're like, who is this nonprofit? They're like, we don't even have a nonprofit category. But it did exactly. It sparked us. Yeah, that's the first time we started to get on the news. I mean, I still talk to so many people who that's how they found us, was One Spark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was a confidence booster too. Eh?
Yeah. It was one of the most fun. I mean, we had this amazing team. We had this crazy idea, and we made it happen. I remember this. It was that. The festival was 5 days in, and it was day 4. We were exhausted. It was cold and raining, so no one was really in the square. And they were announcing the winners. The leaderboard, and they announced number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2. And I was like, well, so we're not in the top 10, we're okay. And then they're like, and the number 1 leader right now is ReThreaded. And there was 5 of us in the park. We're like, oh my gosh. It was so fun and so unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
Cool.
It was incredible. I lived around the corner from the park there at the time. Lived down there for a couple of years, and used to walk to the park all the time. And when One Spark came to town, there was just so many people, and I would just walk from my apartment down to the, those just thousands of people in the street down Laura Street and everything. And I was telling Jim earlier. I was working the booth down at the time the the Modus building or whatever it is, Independent Life building, whatever it was at the time. I was downstairs in the lobby working the booth with Shavar Oren for Straight Allies.
13 years ago, Straight Allies. That's cool.
I know, it just doesn't seem like it was that long. Tell us something, Kristin, real quick, for those that'll be listening to us and watching. You were just talking about ReThreaded, and for those of you that aren't familiar, Kristin Keen is the founder and CEO of ReThreaded, which is a nonprofit organization in Jacksonville, Florida, that has a very distinct mission. Tell us a little bit about what exactly ReThreaded is, Kristin.
So we are a nonprofit that we run a purposeful gift company, and we employ women who have experienced severe complex trauma from human trafficking, and we employ them in our organization. And while they're employed with us, they have access to wraparound services and everything they need to rebuild their life. So we're harnessing the power of work and business to help give women space to heal and reclaim their life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I remember too that you had started out in a nice little shop where you had first started out there, and then you subsequently moved to a much larger facility.
Yeah, our first 10 years we were in 2,800 square feet. Lode King had generously donated this property. That was amazing. At the beginning,
do I have the right picture up here?
Let me see. Yes. No, that is that's the new space.
That's the new space.
Yeah, so we started in 2,800 square feet, no air conditioning, and now the picture that you're showing is our new building, our new campus, and it's 36,000 square feet and 2 acres.
Wow.
And it's such a blessing. It's such a blessing.
Wow. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. Beautiful space. And prior to One Spark and moving forward with ReThreaded, you've been doing this mission for a lot longer, from even before that, working with women that have been trapped into human trafficking in India.
Yeah. I lived there for about 5.5 years working with women. We didn't have language yet. Like, we didn't call it human trafficking then. I mean, when we started, we just knew that something was wrong.
Right.
And that women and girls needed help. And then we discovered the term human trafficking. And now it's becoming more and more known. So that makes me happy to see people starting to understand it and advocate against it. India
exactly.
was,
It was an eye-opener for you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was, in this red light district we were at, there was 10,000 women, 3,000 underage, 3,000 girls. And it was called working the line, so women and girls would just stand in line. So we would me and my friends just made friends with these women. We learned the language, we got some staff who were Indian, and we just started to make friends. I mean, we didn't have an objective really when we started except just to know these women. And after 2 years of just sitting there with our friends, listening to their stories, I'm like, I can't sit here anymore. And our friends had started a business. So we're like, we think we can start a business. So that's how we started this business called Sari Bari, where women could leave and come. And we started by sewing blankets, these hand-sewn blankets. It started with 3 women in a tiny little room with 1 fan.
Wow.
No air conditioning. Yeah.
And look where you're at now with over 30,000 square feet serving the population, right?
I know. It's pretty amazing. It is.
So when you brought it here, how did the woman come to you? How do they find out about ReThreaded? How do they know that there's a chance for them, that there's an opportunity?
So this is one of my favorite things about ReThreaded. We're kind of like step 2, because a majority of women, 100% of women that are coming out of human trafficking have severe complex trauma, which steals your ability to rationally think.
Can you explain to the audience what that is?
Yeah, severe complex trauma is when you have trauma over and over again for an extended period of time. So it's like trauma, big T trauma over big T trauma over big T trauma, which eventually changes your brain chemistry. And you're in constant fight, flight. You're in constant survival mode. And you lose your ability to rationally think. You lose your capacity to do that. So you're just operating off of reactiveness and survival. So then when a woman leaves human trafficking, if she's able to leave, she has a list of 72 barriers that she has to navigate. And 80% of women will go back unless they have access to a new community, a new job, and new resources, and space and time to heal their brain and their body from complex trauma. So we usually work with women in stage 2 because we're the work piece. So for women to come to us, they need to be clean, somewhat stable and sober for about 6 months. So we work with lots and lots of rehab facilities around. Our main partner right now is Gateway. And honestly, this is my...
Right here on Stockton?
Stockton, yeah. It's a free government-funded rehab program. And they do amazing work. Yep. But really so their caseworkers will refer women to us when they're ready. But the reason why most people end up at ReThreaded is because they know someone at ReThreaded. And they've watched a woman take her life back, reclaim her life, and heal and be successful and break addiction, heal from trauma, get their kids back, get their driver's license, get housing. So other women are watching them and following in their footsteps. So that's what we talk about all the time at ReThreaded, is that what you're doing today paves the way for the woman coming behind you.
So let's just say woman Jane comes to ReThreaded. Through everything that you just explained, she has a friend that's also trapped in sex trafficking. Does ReThreaded ever go out?
We're not the going out piece. There's other organizations here that do more of that piece. We just don't have capacity to do that.
It's probably pretty scary too, huh?
Yeah. And really what happens is that it depends on the woman's situation, honestly. We haven't had anything happen to us. So usually when a woman is able to leave, it's because something has happened to her trafficker that has removed him from the situation. Like when one of our women was able to leave, it's because the FBI finally arrested her trafficker, and he was controlling the lives of 36 women out of a hotel off of 95 and Southside. And the only reason why she was brave enough to actually leave is because he was arrested. And he's in jail still.
And how do these people control their victims?
So this is what people have a lot of misconceptions about human trafficking. We spend a lot of time educating everyone.
I hear a lot. The reason why I'm asking is I hear a lot of people say, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's like, well, why don't they just stop?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you hear that all the time.
I'm sure you've heard that a million times.
All the time. We hear it all the time. And so people think it's kidnapping, like taken or whatever. But in reality, only 5% of cases is kidnapping. The other is that 95% of... I'm going to refer to women here. It happens to men and boys, but I only work with women now. 95% of the women have a vulnerability. I don't even remember what I was saying.
What we were talking about was...
yeah. So what happens is the trafficker gets in there and has a relationship and builds trust with the victim and starts to isolate her and essentially start to brainwash her. Then, so after that stage, after there's a relationship, that's when trafficking actually happens. That's the use of force, fraud, or coercion to perform a sex act for profit, for a gain. A lot of the women have experienced a drug dealer becoming their trafficker. Like, if you go do this, I'll give you your drugs, knowing that if the woman does that, she's going to need drugs to handle what just happened to her, and it's this vicious cycle that is really, really hard to get out of. And
these got to choose withdrawal and all that kind of pain, or you can control. We're going to do a lot of editing here. Hang on. Sorry, That was Alexa.
Your weather update?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what mine does too.
See what the waves are tomorrow.
Yeah, when our women talk about their experiences, they talk about, well, first of all, when our women, a majority of our women that end up with us, they don't know what trafficking is. Like they are unable to identify themselves as victims until they come to us and they learn actually what it is. Because the trafficker, everyone around them calls them names and makes judgment on them without ever understanding the underlying issues that is creating the situation for them.
And I imagine a lot of them have been trapped in this since they were rather young to really understand what life is like on the other side.
Yeah, and eventually the trauma becomes normal. It's normalized, so you don't even know that it's wrong at some point.
Right.
You're in this world.
Yeah, Jim, you
so
had
they come
mentioned
to ReThreaded. So what happens?
Yeah, Jim, you had mentioned, that we would assume that a lot of it starts when they're very young, and I can tell you that I have heard as much as recently as just the last few days of some girls coming up missing in the Green Cove Springs area. I'm in Clay County, and they actually have, some of the people out there have gotten a lead on who is doing it, and it's turned out that some girls have resurfaced, they've reappeared, but they are they're in bad shape. They have been through the ringer. There's a lot of meth out in the Green Cove and Middleburg area. Clay County is it's a hotbed for meth production. So
so that's the demand side of the economics here.
It's a problem. It's
kind of like there's a supply and a demand, and how do you lower the demand?
Right.
We're working on it. I don't know if you heard, but there was a story that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, and 27 men were arrested. The police did a sting, and 27 men showed up thinking they were going to have sex with a 14-year-old.
Wow.
And they all got felony charges.
Right.
And that's just a sting that the police did online. So it's just it's a lot more prevalent than everyone thinks, and different than what everyone thinks.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier, Kristin,
makes me sad just hearing it.
Yeah, when you were saying earlier, Kristin, that some people have the misconception that the term human trafficking is, kidnapped or what have you in the layman's sense. They've been taken.
So somebody comes to ReThreaded. A trafficking victim comes to ReThreaded.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take us briefly through the process that they go through as you bring them in from day one, or is there a process?
There is a process. There's a process. When I was in charge of everything, there's not a process. I have the best team in the whole world. And now everything is so intentional and so it's trauma informed. It's so well done. So a woman comes in usually on her first day, terrified and hopeful all in the same moment. And for the first 90 days, it's a really vulnerable time for a woman. So for the first 90 days, there's a very set program, and it's not full-time yet. Because we used to start women full-time, and a woman was never able to work full-time because her life is still in so much chaos. There's still so much chaos and trauma around her. She's trying to get her kids back. She doesn't have her driver's license. She's still learning how to live life sober. She's still in survival mode. So there's all this stuff. So it's 90 days part-time. And then if she makes it through the first 90 days, then she's able to take on an extra day. And by 6 months, if she's able, she can work. We want her to work full-time. And we put her in an area of our company where we have openings and where she naturally comes to life. Because when a woman starts with us, usually she doesn't even know who she is anymore. She can't remember what she loves. She doesn't know what she likes to do. She's been told who she is. for, her time in trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets to discover and heal and find out what's inside her, and where she comes to life. And usually what happens is the first year is just year to year and a half is a woman just finding stabilization. So she's doing all that hard work. She's trying to get housing, get her driver's license, go through drug court, probation, all the stuff. And if a woman can make it to about the year and a half mark, usually what happens is she finds stability for the first time in however long, which usually leads to a crisis.
Yeah.
And leads to like this deep inner healing. And then if a woman comes out on that side after 2 years, about the 2-year mark, 2.5 years, she comes out on the other side of that. That's when we see women take off and like reclaim their future and then build a future. And that is the greatest thing ever.
So you, like, generally speaking, then, after 2 years and they're launching their new life, your recidivism rate goes down quite a bit at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's almost zero. And those are the women
that's great.
It's beautiful. And that we're kind of in that stage, like now we're 13 years old, and we now have about our third or fourth class of women at the 2-year mark. And there's 5 women in that class right now, and they're just like exploding at ReThreaded. And it is so good to watch. It makes me want to again, I want to do this work. I would do this work forever to witness it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding, yeah.
I guess, from a mental standpoint, they're dealing with the suffering all the time. How does that work its way through your head?
We don't deal with suffering. That's the beautiful thing about ReThreaded, is that our women want a new life, right? And our women are motivated. And when I was in India, I would go to the red light district 4 days a week and just sit with women, sit with my friends when they're being raped, watch them be bought. That was in the midst of suffering.
Yeah.
And now that we're here in Jacksonville, you walk into ReThreaded and you can feel hope. Like, you can physically feel it. You walk in our store and you're standing in tangible hope. We get to watch women fight and come alongside them and fight with them for their future. So it is not suffering. The hardest part of my job is saying no, because we can't meet the demand for women that want to come.
So what's the limitation?
Is that we have to grow in a way that we can be sustainable. So we have to have enough work. So right now we have 20 women in the program. So we have to have enough work for these 20 people to have work to do on a daily basis. And then we haven't have enough money to run the program. And we have to have the program fully staffed.
Right.
We have to have enough care managers, enough counselors to provide excellent care to our women. So it's a matter of growing in a way that we can actually be helpful in that. Gosh.
I know.
What's with the kitchen? Go ahead, Trace. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you said that, now it's back when you're back in the States now in Jacksonville, and it's all, the feeling is all about hope when you come into the store, and I can attest to that for a fact, having been in your original store numerous times as I worked around. I worked around the corner there from you. And was there several times in several of your functions there. And every time I walked into the store, everybody was very pleasant, cheerful, helpful, everything.
And I love that the effect of ReThreaded like overflows. Like, one of our values is that everyone we interact with, we will show them value. So like people come to ReThreaded and then they get healed, right? Because you never know who's dealing with addiction. You never know who's dealing with abuse. You never know who's going to walk through the door and find a safe place also for them to heal and be vulnerable. So I have sat with many of people who will tell me about their exploitation for the first time in their whole life. It is a place of healing for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at ReThreaded, we know our mailman's name. Our ladies love our mail lady. They know her name. They invite her to events. The UPS man is like their best friend. I mean, everyone that interacts with ReThreaded, we want to show.
Why everybody looks so happy here?
Oh my gosh! And yes, and this group right now that is with us is just, there's something really special right now at ReThreaded. It's a very joyful time right now.
Is that like all the people working with you now, pretty much? Or, I don't know how recent that picture is.
Yeah, that's like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a great picture. That beautiful mural.
Isn't that mural amazing?
Yeah. Who did your mural?
It was former First Lady Molly Curry. It was her legacy project. She gave us the grant, and Rue Arts and Nico. Rue Arts did the mosaic, and Nico did the mural.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. It represents a woman's journey to healing from dark to light.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So, Kristin,
Yeah.
I got to ask you about all this.
Yeah, look at that.
So, about the same year, literally the same year, almost the same month that we bought this building, we also bought a toffee company, a candy company. It was Amelia Toffee, and we had already had a partnership with them, so we knew that the product did well, and we purchased it right before we moved into this building.
Wow.
And it's now our number one selling product. And the toffee team has been working off site since we bought the company. So they've been working out of Florida Blue, renting a kitchen from Florida Blue. But about a month ago, we were able to open our kitchen, and now we're all on the same campus. And this is the most delicious candy in the world. People don't believe me. Like, they think I'm like biased, but it is really that good. It is the best toffee in the world. And you can see, like, they boil the sugar and the butter, and it's put in molds one by one, and then it's put into an enrober, and it's individually enrobed with chocolate and then dipped with the nut topping. It is like artisan made, like it's an art. And our kitchen is this beautiful place of joy. They have their own playlist that they make. You'll get to hear that at our grand opening. They've created this playlist that will be playing all night.
So how do people get it?
So you can go to our store. We're located in Springfield. We can't order it online now because it's really hard to ship because it will melt. So you got to go buy it now.
So you guys are open 9 to 5, Tuesday through Friday.
Tuesday through Friday. Mm-hmm. And at our birthday party, July 27th, 6:30 to 9, we'll be celebrating our 13 years of bringing women home, and then we'll have our kitchen grand opening. And you can try all 9 flavors of toffee. We'll have a toffee flight. You can try 3 flavors of toffee, each paired with a drink. We'll have our new home line will be out. You'll get a tour of the kitchen, all kinds of beautiful stuff.
That's wonderful.
So this is what, July 27th?
Yes.
27th.
6:30 to 9?
Yes.
Okay, great.
That's at your main campus.
That's right, yep.
Right. Now, let me ask you something, too, when it comes to raising funds, and I know you have some generous donors. Are you still, you're still doing the yearly gala?
Oh, yeah. We did our Mukti Gala this year. We still do it. We've been doing it at the glass factory still.
Right. And you're still going to do it.
Place to have a gala.
I know. I love that place. And I love that place.
Yeah.
And now, it's been taken over. It no longer belongs to the people that owned it when I was over in that area. But I know Haley Tinkle and her husband are doing a lot of the work over there now.
And they're doing great. We love working with them.
Oh, Haley's a sweetheart.
Yeah. And now the glass factory has air conditioning, they've redone the bathrooms. They've done all this work to make it like a really good event center.
I remember when you first started, it was like an empty shell, basically. Very warm, empty shell.
Very warm, yes. For some reason, I get attracted to places with no air conditioning.
Well, I'll tell you. I worked several events inside that building way before they had ventilation, and it was like an oven in there. And here's another fun fact, Jim. The first time I ever met you face to face was in the glass factory at one of those events.
Was it?
At ReThreaded?
Tracy and I never really see each other.
I was working one of those tables for Eco Relics.
Yeah. That's another one of our inner circle companies that are super generous.
I just like going there for fun. I mean, even if I don't come home with anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kristin, what do you do in your spare time to make you happy?
Jim, you're the one that introduced me to it. I love swimming in the ocean. Specifically, I love swimming in the ocean at sunrise.
That's one thing that we did in the early days is we would go. Who did we go with? We went with one other person. We go to Atlantic Beach. Who was that?
Yeah, he was an accountant.
Yeah. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Haven't seen him in a long time. But we used to go to Atlantic Beach and swim the sunrise. And then after the sunrise and after the swim, if on a clear day, you can just lay flat on the water and look up and get blue out, It's just kind of a meditative float, right? But this picture right here, I found this. This is one that Giancarlo took because, we had Giancarlo Bertozzi on the show a couple of weeks ago talking about swimming in open water and all that. That was such a blast. But, just so people know, you're a big part of that as well. And we're going to remind them once again what a thalassophile is.
Yeah, I don't know if I know what that is.
You are one. Thalasso is Greek. It's sea, the sea, and phile is kind of like an audiophile, or a person that loves the sea. That's what that means. That loves the water.
That would be a fun T-shirt. Thalassophile.
It would be a fun T-shirt.
Yeah,
I have a couple of good T-shirts. I got to send you.
Yeah, and you have to explain it to everybody that sees it.
Yeah. Well, you can look at various definitions and stuff, but I'll find one that's good, and then you can put it on the back.
Yeah, send it to me because actually there's a couple people designing some T-shirts for that.
Okay. Yeah. I have one that I want to do, but I'll tell you that. I'll text it to you.
Okay.
So I don't tell everybody the idea. Everybody. So anyway, this is a picture that Giancarlo Bertozzi took of, Israel of Kristin swimming at sunrise. But one of the things was, talk about Atlantic Beach years and years and years and years ago. Kristin was just learning how to swim and do open water, I should say. Anyway, I couldn't keep up with her anymore. Not that she's highly competitive or anything.
I've mellowed out a little bit. No, I remember like the first 2 times I had to swim like right next to you because I was so afraid that something was going to eat me or I don't know what. Just a lot of fear. And now, 8 years later, it's my safe spot now. Yeah,
I think you can say for all of us in the Duval Ocean Swimmers crew. Well, I just want to let other people know that other side of you. It's like, how do you get your vibe, your mojo?
And I also sell stuff on eBay right now. I love vintagey things, and I sell stuff on eBay.
Didn't you have a thing over at the store?
I mean, look at this
Reese.
place.
I see Reese in the waiting room. Look at that.
It's gorgeous. These are the strange stuff I sell. This is another giver of life, is old vintagey things that I can resell.
Repurposing stuff.
Repurposing stuff. It is true.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I did have a little thing of the Temporium. Yeah, go check out Amy's store. It's beautiful.
What Temporium?
Cool.
Yeah, the Temporium. It's located off of Hendricks in San Marco.
Didn't you have a little booth over at the one in Park Street?
And I have a little booth at Southern Crossing.
You're not doing this on the side. It's a business.
No, it's more like an obsession.
Yeah. Well, good.
I actually need to quit because it is interfering with my real job.
Yeah.
But you've got something else that's been keeping you busy lately, and we talked about it earlier. That you've recently started and launched a podcast as well.
I do. I love my podcast. I love doing a podcast. I love it. I have learned so much from people. So on my podcast, I bring people on. We're developing this. It's called the ReThreaded process. It's these 5 ingredients of healing and reaching your potential. So I bring people on who have been through hard things, and we just talk about their experience and how they made it through. And I have learned so much. I want everyone to listen to it because of what I'm learning and how it's kind of transforming my life through listening to people. I mean, is there a link for it? We can get you it. It's called ReThreading Lives, and it's on YouTube.
Yeah, so there's the podcast is ReThreaded.com, ReThreading Lives podcast. But you could actually just click on Learn More on your website.
Yeah. See, you know
and
more.
Go to. I'm over there right now, and you can just click on Learn More, and then go to your podcast. But you got quite a few up here.
Yeah, the first episode. That's what we put it there. The first episode for a reason because it's an episode with this woman Shirley, who graduated our program and is now like on full-time staff, and it is so good.
Which one is this? Which episode is that?
Episode 1, the first one. It's a great one.
Okay. Rethreading pain, is that?
Yeah.
That the one?
What we can learn from a survivor's
what a survivor's journey can teach us. Yeah.
Yes. I learned so much from Shirley.
And then you have another one, like the latest one is called Bonus Episode, Purpose by Design.
Yeah, that was an interview with like a life coach. Helps you get your inner genius.
Well, there's a lot of great episodes on there. I was looking at the YouTube channel the other day, and you have a lot of great episodes on there.
I'm telling you, Megan's episode, Stephanie's episode. I mean, there's just so many good ones.
Yeah, and then you can get them on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeart, right?
Yeah. Because I know, Tracy, I don't know your story as well, but I mean, we all have the story, right? We've all been through hard things and have found our way. And what I'm finding is there's these universal truths about healing and reaching your potential. And then I'm starting to hear them over and over again. So we're trying to put structure to it and then teach people what we're learning about healing. Yeah, it's just some of my favorite work.
Yeah.
So what is the...
And I'll tell you too, like you said, you just love your podcast. I feel the same way. And while we have, we're not so different. We're not so different. And I think Jim will tell you that too, that each episode that we have done, we've come away feeling better than we did going into it. Each and every one. So many different.
We always come away with something.
Yeah, we meet and talk with so many different people. I've just finished up in the regular season 5, and Jim and I are going to continue doing these live episodes every Wednesday night. So over the last few years, I've done 5 episodes or 5 seasons, a total of about 160 something episodes total. And the first season was in a studio. The first
talk about obsession.
The first season was in a studio with live, guests and that kind of thing. And then the pandemic hit, and we had to shut that operation down. So I just decided to start doing the podcast remotely, and it's worked out well. It's worked out really well. We've got it's been a stellar list of guests that I've had on the show.
Yeah, and you've made it past. I'm like, whatever. I forgot the number. I don't remember how many hundreds of thousands of podcasts. However, only like 10% make it past the 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So you're in the top 10%, Tracy. Well done.
I get. I'm not going anywhere. Honestly, like you say, you love it. It literally is a form of therapy for me to be able to, chat, to talk
always.
There's always something to learn, like you say.
What is it about stories? I was going to ask you this earlier.
Stories, yeah.
I was going to mention that to Kristin. It's like, because like you said, Kristin, everybody has a story. But what is the relationship between your story or telling your story and healing? How does that, what's the wire that connects those two? Is it just talking about it? Or is it finding people that have a similar story? What is it about? Because every time I hear stories, especially when I'm doing this with Tracy, I've always moved in some way, even if I can't relate to it directly, Maybe it's inspiration. I don't know.
I know. I'm thinking, I have lots of thoughts in this moment. My first thought was that Jesus taught through stories as well. Like a lot of how he taught was stories. And I think the beautiful thing about story is that people can find something, whatever lens they have on, can probably find something to relate to in your story to pull out.
Yeah.
And and relate to exactly what you said and relate to.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, right, we all experience blame and shame. That's what I'm finding.
Sure.
We all experience blame and shame. We all want to be loved. We all want to belong. And usually trauma and something hard reinforces that you're alone, that you don't belong, that you're not loved. Which we can all relate to. I don't know.
I think that's true of humankind.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
That's a nice thought.
Absolutely. And you were saying, everybody has a story, and sometimes people, people that have healed have made it a point to tell their story over and over and over to people that want to hear it or people that may need to hear it.
Yeah.
And look at the work that Barbara Colacello does over at Bad Labs.
Yeah,
Bad Lab, right? Because that's what she does. She does story nights, right? People get up and do their stories, and they're wonderful. I've been to a few of them over the years, on and off. And you and I went to, did we go at the same time? We went and did, because she did the improv classes as well.
Yep. Yeah.
And that helped you a lot, didn't it? Get it in front of people.
Yeah, it was one of the most terrifying experiences.
It's terrifying.
I didn't invite anyone to the last final show because I didn't want anyone to come that I knew.
Yeah, that's how I learned how to do it in my when I did Tonight with Jim Alavisa, and I did the television show. It was her training for 3 or 4 months of improv that gave me the nerve to do that, because I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but
I know. But you're just brave enough to do it, and that's good.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's brave enough to mess up.
Yeah. Yep. The entrepreneurial spirit.
No.
That's most of the battle.
Hey, any final thoughts, Tracy, Kristin?
Yeah, I was going to ask Kristin, when it comes down to, these final thoughts, we also mentioned earlier before I asked her about her dreams and future of ReThreaded, we wanted to mention, like we did earlier too, just to remind everybody that you're going to be having your 13th birthday celebration at your main campus on July the 27th. And what time is that? And what can people expect again?
6:30 to 9. It's going to be mostly indoors. The ribbon cutting is going to be around 6:45. So you get to be there for the ribbon cutting. We have a $30,000 match from Riverside Homes. So everything you donate and you purchase that night is matched up to $30,000. that will have a special on toffee. You get to try all our toffee flavors. We'll have a toffee flight where the toffee's paired with special alcohol, a special mixed drink, our new product line. It will be a night of hope, and it'll be fun.
Nice.
And inspiring and light. And if you need a night out of Night of Hope, I would come and just be with us.
Absolutely. If you go to the ReThreaded website, the first thing on the left on the top menu is the donate button. I'm not surprised. Kristin, so if you click on that, we need to tell people how to donate. If you click on that, you can do a one-time or recurring donation there.
That's great. That's great.
And then you have a choice of what you want your donation to support, right? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 choices over there. What is the Never Say No building campaign? What is that?
Oh gosh, that was our building campaign. That our goal is to increase capacity to where we never have to say no to a semester ready for work, and that is ongoing because we only have completed. We have 3 buildings, and we only have a building and a kitchen complete. So we have a lot more room to expand and grow.
So if you want to help with that, and go there and do that, and then you have Circle of Sisters, or what is that, real quick?
So this is we have our Circle of Sisters and our Band of Brothers. This is our women's giving circle and our men's giving circle, and all that. We have 75 women in the Circle of Sisters, about 25 men in the Band of Brothers, and it's men and women who are dedicating their time, treasure, talent to the women of ReThreaded, and it's to raise money and provide programming for our women.
That's great.
That's
so
fantastic.
Y'all, if you feel like after watching this, when you stream it off of YouTube or the Contrast Project, I'm starting to sound like WJCT, aren't I?
I love it.
You just click on the donate button.
That's right.
Or you can go to the store one more time. You go to the store, right?
Yeah, go to the store.
And check that out. And you can go buy some toffee.
It's delicious. I'm warning you, though. People will buy a little bag, and then by the time they get out of a parking lot, they want more, and they turn around and come buy more. So
can you sign up for recurring orders?
Exactly.
Man,
yeah.
we would do that
Get the subscription.
all year round. Oh.
Get the subscription. That's right. That's right. Kristin, you have been a joy to have on the program. I sure appreciate it. You're welcome to come on the program anytime, and we'll be providing the links for everybody when I upload the podcast to the YouTube channel. I'll have all your links, and I'll make sure that everybody that comes to and reads the description and the transcripts or whatever, they'll have access to your donate button, and we'll remind everybody to we'll add out there to your campus and say hello.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for being here. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap. Another fantastic episode of the podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms, wherever you surf, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, wherever. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, comment, and smash that subscribe button. If you're streaming audio for the podcast, you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast programs. In the meantime, I like to tell everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time. Peace.